Today's video, we're going to talk about Google retargeting campaigns and how long should I advertise for? Should I advertise to people who've been to the website for 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, a year? I'm going to clear up exactly what you want to know in regards to this topic on this video and go over an actual case study where I have hard numbers for you here, where I can show you physically how much your return can be and how it diminishes over time the further out from the time that somebody comes to your website to the time that the ad shows up for the person that you're trying to retarget to, with a banner ad, with an ad that you have on YouTube, whether you have an ad on Gmail. That is, you're remarketing through your Google Ads account. I'm not only going to tell you the sweet spot on what works for most companies in terms of the time frame there of how long you want to advertise out from the time somebody gets to the site, but how much this matters when you also factoring in how much time someone spent on the site in combination, as well as whether somebody's bought or converted before or whether they've converted more than once. Given that if somebody's been to the site for more than 2 minutes and they've been to the site 30 days ago, that person universally is basically better than somebody who's been to the site 7 days ago, but only been to the site 30 seconds, as per what I've seen at our advertising agency and what happens with our client's account. So I'm going to go over the nice juicy details in regards to all that on this particular video. So if you're thinking about doing retargeting, you can do it in the masterful way that's going to get you 3 times as much results than it would otherwise, because you're dialing everything in to get the absolute maximum results out of it. I'm going to go into the systems that I use, and then of course, again, like I mentioned before, the actual numbers, so you can physically see how these strategies are going to line up for your brand when you execute them for yourself. The first thing I want to say right off the top here is the price of whatever you're offering plus the urgency of the buyers that you're going after will dictate how long you want to retarget or remarket for, which retargeting and remarketing, those terms are pretty much interchangeably used. Google's kind of used the word remarketing to refer to their own retargeting, if you will. But they basically mean the same thing. We're talking about advertising to people who've been to either our website before or bought from us before, either or. When I say the price of whatever you're offering should dictate how long you advertise to somebody after they've been to your site, given that universally we know at our agency you'll make twice as much money from a certain group of people that you're going after when you remarket to them versus when you don't remarket to them. And I don't care what market you're talking about, unless you're talking about a broken toilet service that you either have to buy right away or not, or a $20 broom that you buy right away or not. Everybody else, retargeting is going to double your sales at least. And the more that you're selling your product for or service for, the longer you should be advertising to the person after they leave your site, because amount of money that they're spending makes them have to think longer on average before buying, or they evaluate different options in your market longer, and therefore you want to remarket to them longer. And it will pay to actually remarket to them longer, because obviously remarketing to people who are going to buy actually costs you money. Even though they don't click your ad, your click-through rate goes down, and that raises your cost per click on all the traffic that you're going after, that you're retargeting to. A general rule of thumb here is if you sell something for less than $100, you should probably only retarget your users for 30 days or less. If you sell something between $100 and $1,000, on the other hand, you should remarket or retarget those users for up to a year, which I know that sounds crazy, but I'll explain why. And if you're selling something over $1,000, do the maximum time window you can, which is 540 days with Google Ads. You can do this by setting up your retargeting audience in Google Analytics for a maximum of 540 days. If what you're selling, again, has to be bought short-term or nothing, you have a broken pipe repair service and that pipe needs to be fixed either right away or not at all, then you just simply shouldn't remarket in that type of market. That basically leaves 97% of other markets out there to where you'd be silly or crazy not doing retargeting. And for that matter, just to put things into perspective here for you, ultimately, there's only so many active buyers in your market at any given time. Now, you can make a fortune finding people that in market for what you sell and convincing them to buy. That's where the real pros make their money. But for you and for a lot of people out there, it's hard to do that. So what you're apt to want to do is go after people already in market for what you're selling. If you sell a brochure printing service, you just want to go after people that know they want brochures printed already, not trying to convince them why they need brochure printing. It's 50 times easier to do that. With that said, running your Google search ads to do that, you're going after people typing in brochure printing online, brochure printing services. You can do everything you can to get all those people, or as many of them, to buy from you as possible. You're still only going to get half of them to buy from you than you would otherwise if you did not have retargeting going on the back end, which is why you do it. And the reason for that is because when people are evaluating multiple options in your market, who they go with is either going to be based upon price or trust or reputation is another way to say it. And when you follow up with them multiple times in a very helpful way, the name recognition you get by being seen basically hundreds of times over that next 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever, that they're trying to think it over and decide who to go with or just to do it at all, because a lot of people don't even buy it all from your market when they enter it like that. It's going to be you a majority of the time because you followed up with them and your competitors didn't. That is really where the core of how retargeting makes you more money. It takes people that are already in market for what you sell, that are low-hanging fruit opportunities for you, and it extracts more value out of them. Given that these people are going to buy from somebody, you're just increasing the likelihood that they're going to buy from you by having your ad show up for them again and again and again after they leave the site. And for that matter, it literally costs a fraction of a penny to have a banner ad or other even YouTube ad show up for somebody after they left your site. It literally costs that much. Therefore, like I said earlier, you are literally silly for not doing this because you presumably are paying $1, $2, $3, $10 to get them to your site to get this person that you know is likely to do business with somebody in your market in the near future. But you're not going to spend a half of a penny to have a banner ad saying what your reviews are on Trustpilot or on Yelp and why they should go with you again. The general thinking is, hey, I've already said that on my site, so if they wanted to know it, they already know it. The reality is that's not how it works. There's something called the power of sevens in marketing. You should look it up, go Google it, stop this video if you need to. And this has been tested and proven time and time again to where you will make more money advertising to fewer people more than once than more people but only once each. This applies universally across the board outside of immediate decision type purchases like I talked about before. You're just leaving half of the money you can make in your market on the table if you don't do any kind of follow-up. In the follow-up, you should have multiple follow-up touch points. You shouldn't just beat them over the head with the message to buy over and over again. You should buy because of this. And then on another ad, you say you buy because of this. And another ad, you say because of this. And they see 5, 10 plus time different ads from you that says why you should buy from you specifically. And because they saw all these ads over the next month or 2 months while they're thinking over their purchase decision, they go with you at 3 times the rate basically that they would otherwise, given that some people aren't going to buy. And this is why you ultimately still get a doubling of your sales when you have retargeting going in the background to support any new traffic you're paying to get to come to your site. This is how it ultimately all works out at the end of the day. Now, once you understand and get behind what I'm saying here, the question is, how many ads do I run? And what am I going to say on my ads? Which that's easy to do because you find out all the different things you would say to them in person in a person's sales pitch that to get them to buy. That's what goes into your remarketing ads. And you do video ads, you do banner ads, you do text ads, you do all of it variety, and you have different ads that say different things that you would normally say in the sales process, which when they click on them, hopefully, if you want the most out of your campaigns, drive them to a dedicated blog or page on your website that goes into that topic in general. So if you're talking about product comparison, where you show why your product's better than the competition, they click that ad saying that it is better than the competition, and it takes them to an independent study you did on your website that goes into detail on that point because they click on it. That's what they want to see. They don't want to just be taken back to your product page on your website or whatever. You have that to figure out, but then also how long do I advertise to them for? What I'm going to do for every company that I work for at our ad agency is I'm going to set up a 1-day audience, 7-day audience, 14-day audience, 30-day audience, 60-day audience, 90-day audience, 180-day audience, 365-day audience, and 540. Why? For one, I want those audiences to be built up. So if I ever need them in the future, I don't have to wait a year for them to be built up. I've got the audiences ready to go when I need to deploy them. But more so, I want to be able to figure out where the sweet spot is, where I can maximize the profit I can get out of retargeting, and figuring out when too long is too long, but when too short is just leaving money on the table still at the end of the day. What I have here is a chart here that shows we had a women's clothing brand, how we did the retargeting and we broke it out. And therefore, what is our ROAS on each segment individually, talking about going after people that have been to the site 7 days ago, 30 days ago, 60 days ago, 90, 180, people who bought before within the last 30 days, people who bought before within the last 90 days, people who bought more than once but have been to the site within the last 30 days, people who bought more than once, who have bought within the last 90 days, and people who bought more than once that have been to the site within the last 365 days. When you set up these audiences like this, ideally, the one for, let's say, 365 days would exclude the 90, the 30, and so forth. That said, you often can't do this because you now need, it used to be 100, now you need 1,000 people on your remarketing list to be eligible to target them and bid on them, if you will. Ultimately, set up your audiences in advance. If you can segment people out, your 365-day audience, don't include the 90 and so forth, do it. Set up different audiences for people who've been to the site, as well as people who bought before, like I mentioned here. And then ideally, people who have been to the site at different time intervals, that is if you have enough traffic to do it, and have been to the site a certain minimum threshold. Because like I mentioned at the very start of this video, there'll be a different conversion propensity for somebody who's been to the site 60 days ago that was on the site for at least 2 minutes, indicating they're a hot prospect, versus somebody who's been to the site within 60 days ago and only been to the site for 30 seconds when they got to the site. They all are going to convert at a different rate at the end of the day. And the more you segment, the more you're going to get out of retargeting, given that you're going to find the pivotal peak point of how far you should be taking your remarketing before you stop, in terms of how far out. And then obviously if they've bought before, you can take it out further than if they haven't bought before. And if somebody's been to the site for 2 minutes or greater, you can take it out further than you would otherwise. Before we get into these numbers though, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you absolutely should do that already. What are you doing? I've got the best information that you're going to find on YouTube and online about how to make money with ads. Millions of dollars a year if you just follow these directions that I give you on this channel, because these strategies I use to guarantee our clients results already. And so you just got to simply replicate what we're doing here to do that, and you're going to get these results for yourself. I've got a great blog on my site as well to go along with this channel. If you like the channel already, check out my blog on my site at guaranteedppc.com/blog, where you can find step-by-step information on how to execute the strategies that we're using to guarantee results for our clients as well there, with screenshots, with everything you need to use them. If you have any questions about anything I'm covering here, by the way, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time. In addition to being able to reach out to me through the comment section, I also have a Discord group that I started. You can find the link to that in the video description. You also can reach out to me through my site at guaranteedppc.com as well, which I offer coaching and consulting there. I also, in addition, offer full-on management services of Google Ads, Facebook ads, online ads in general, of which we do not charge management fees until we can get our client a certain minimum lift in profitability from their campaigns up front, in excess of the fees that we charge. Are the only agency out there who offers this guarantee, which will tell you something about the quality of the services we provide. We also sell ad templates. If you are in a market that we've already been in already, we can literally sell you the winning ads, landing pages that work for your market already, and you copy paste those into your ad account and get the same results that we did with none of the hard work that we had to go through and money we had to spend, figure out how to get results in your market. If you're interested in that, let me know. I can tell you the results we've got in your niche market before, in another city or country that you're in. You know, whether we have the template or not, of course. But we've got hundreds of these templates, just to let you know in advance. Going into the numbers here, this women's clothing brand itself was a plus-size women's clothing brand. We did the following numbers that I talked about in terms of the audience window length: 7, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, and then 30-90 on single purchasers, and then 30-90, 365 on multi-purchasers. Given that if somebody's bought once, they're more likely to buy again. If they bought more than once, they're even more likely to buy again. Therefore, you should be spending more money on these people who buy once versus haven't bought, or people who have bought twice versus once. And that actually keeps going, by the way. Person who's bought 3 times is more likely to buy again than someone who's bought twice, and so on and so forth, on a general overall basis. When you create your retargeting audiences, which you do inside your Google Analytics account, you should segment it out like this. Maybe you don't use all these audiences day one, but at the very, very least, you can add them to your campaign and you can just see and observe how each one converts differently. And that's what it's really all about, baby, because you can, with your proper conversion tracking in your ad account that tracks sales or qualified leads, you can actually see how the different audiences here convert and then decide to either get rid of certain ones, or if you're doing manual bidding, you can decide to bid a different amount based upon how well each one of these convert. For this brand here, what we did was we targeted these individually, and our ROAS, break-even ROAS for this company is 300%. So in other words, if we did not at least get a 300% return on investment on our ad spend on each one of these segments, it was not acceptable nor profitable for us to continue advertising on the segments. We either had to go down in bids or we had to eliminate the segment, which we're using smart bidding, so we can't downgrade in bids. We just had to get rid of the segment. And here's how the numbers ended up. For the 7-day audience, we had 514% ROAS. On a 30-day audience, we had 382. On a 60-day audience, we had 211. On a 90-day audience, we had 149% ROAS, and a 180-day audience, we had 60% ROAS. As you can see here, and as like what's going to happen in your case, you're going to see your return on investment on ad spend diminish the further out you advertise, or the longer you advertise to somebody, and the further out and the more time it spends since that person spent to the site, because people start fall off. They do business with the competitor. They stop caring. Some people decide they're not going to buy from anybody. Some people, they piss the rent money away on the sports cars, the strippers, and all this other stuff instead. They spent it on something else. People start falling off, and you market to these people, it's wasted ad spend at that point in time. Therefore, it pays to segment out your audiences, and then also then with that, see how far out is too far. Is it 60 days? Is it 90 days? Whatever. What is it? Like I said before, we needed to be in a 300% break-even ROAS to be profitable. So with that, unless they purchased already, as we're going to talk about here in a minute, it did not pay to go more than 30 days out on these audiences. They either were going to buy a dress for an event, and they were going to buy it within the next 30 days roughly on average, or they weren't going to buy it at all, or they just changed their mind or whatever. So that is people who have been to the site but haven't bought. Now, we did segment out people who bought before once, specifically once, and within this last 30 days versus 90 days. And the ROAS there was 412% on this 30-day audience, 309 on the 90-day audience. If you're wondering why the ROAS is less for the person who purchased before than it is up here, essentially, it's because when somebody buys, they often don't need to buy again right away. Somebody with a retargeting ad one day after they bought, a lot of that's wasted ad spend. However, what happens here is on the multi-buyers, people who bought more than once, the return gets to be really good, and it gets to be really good for a long time out. People who bought more than once, and within the last 30 days, they made their last purchase, we had a 562% ROAS. Where somebody who bought more than once, and their last purchase was within 90 days, we are within getting a 491% ROAS. And if somebody who bought within the last year and bought 2 or more times, we had a 255% ROAS. You can see here, we could go further out if somebody's bought more than one. We could go further out if they bought once as well here in general. And just to stand corrected here, the ROAS here on the 30-day single purchaser audience is 412, and the 30-day up here non-purchasers is 382. Ultimately, here, we're still above where we were before, but it's basically the same. Where the real productivity gain comes in is when you're talking about 90 days plus on somebody who's bought more than once. For the most part, you want to advertise to people who bought for probably on average like a year to 540 days, the maximum that Google allows, because it's immense value in marketing to that list. And until you've extracted all the value out of that list, you have no business plowing money into the people who haven't bought yet. And to do this, by the way, you can't just do it willy-nilly. You can't just say, hey, buy a product from us. You got to have a deliberate approach and treat these people who bought before like they're special, which means customer appreciation offers. Hey, valued customer, for this month, we're offering a 25% off customer appreciation offer on all dresses. And that drives traffic back to the site. That's going to work really good. And that's the type of thing you want to do. And so you want to have different ads for people who are customers versus non-customers in order to get the type of results that I'm talking about here. Generally speaking, again, remarket way longer to people who are customers already than people who aren't. So you're going to take what you can out of people who aren't customers, basically probably market to people maybe even for 30 to 90 days only, whereas with customers, you're going to advertise to them a year plus. And that's what you can basically expect to happen with your campaigns. As I mentioned before, ideally, if you had enough traffic going to your site, that is, if you had 1,000 to 10,000 visits a day to your website, I would break this out even further. I would do 7-day audience and then with and without 2 minutes to the site, 30-day audience with and without 2 minutes to the site, and then break that out at that level as well, because that makes a huge difference on the ROI you're going to get from that segment. Given that, like I said before, what you'll typically see is somebody who's been to the site 60 days ago, but has been to the site more than 2 minutes when they were on the site, that will typically convert better than somebody who's been to the site 7 days ago, but hasn't been on the site for 2 minutes. It matters that much. So that's another element to add to your segmentation list, and you create these audiences in Google Analytics 4, you import them into your ad account, you put them in your retargeting campaign, and then you just let the data tell you which ones you should go with, and if you're using manual bidding, to what level your bid should be for each one of these individually. Given that the higher you bid, the more aggressive your ads will be towards that particular segment and vice versa. That is everything I wanted to share in regards to how long you should do your retargeting for or remarketing for your company, and how to find the sweet spot of maximum profitability with it for your brand. Hopefully that made sense. I'll see you on the next one. If you want to see another video, click here. It is one of my best ones.